What is going on, guys? It's your boy Nudie, and we are here with End of Dragons at last. So we've got our Spectre build. This is literally the first build I've tried and the build I've stuck with throughout all of End of Dragons. I mean, we're only a couple days in, but all I can say is this build is awesome. There has not been a single matchup where I feel like I'm being countered or cannot deal with the person I'm fighting. And long story short, this build is very, very well rounded, especially for how much damage it does. It still has very good sustain with the barrier uptime, and we can expect a nerf probably pretty soon. But while the build is still active, I'm going to share it with you. So just before we get into it, drop a like and subscribe, because I'm providing you with the goods, and I will continue to do so throughout End of Dragons for Spectre and probably a few different classes. So let's hop straight into it. Let's start off with the traits. So these are the traits right here. You've got the Shadow Arts trait line, you've got Trickery, and then you've got the Spectre. In Shadow Arts, we're running Hidden Thief. So this means when you use your F1, your Siphon, you're going to go into Stealth. And also Deception skills get a reduced recharge. That is your Hide in Shadows, your Blinding Powder, and your Shadow Step. Then we have Leeching Venoms. So this is going to allow you to chuck poison on your target as well. By the way, I forgot to mention this is a power build. However, the life siphon damage from Leeching Venoms is good as well. And then you run Shadow's Rejuvenation. So this just allows you to regen health and initiative while in stealth. All right, then we go into Trickery. I'm not going to get into too much of the boring stuff because everyone runs these exact Trickery trait lines. So Thrill of the Crime, Bountiful Theft, and Sleight of Hand. And then finally we go into Spectre. So with Spectre, there's a few different traits you could run. These are the ones I've tested and that have worked so far for me, but there are a few other ones that seem pretty viable. But try both, like this one and a few of the other ones, see which one you like most. So far these are the ones I've found the most success with. Let's talk about the gear now. So with the gear, we are running a Marauders, Valkyrie, and a Berserkers mix. So we've got Marauders, Valkyrie, Marauders, Valkyrie. So it's pretty much 3 Marauder, 3 Valkyrie armor pieces. Also with the runes, you want to run Scholar runes. We have Berserker weapons, Berserkers with Bloodlust and Cleansing. And then on our Scepter dagger, we have Celerity, which you definitely want to run that. I'll get into that more in a moment. And we've got Air, the Sigils, which are pretty much all Marauders. With the shortbow, a lot of people are opting to go for other options, such as either Sword Dagger or Sword Pistol, which is quite understandable because with Spectre you have less initiative, and obviously Shortbow takes a lot of initiative. However, for me personally, out of comfort, I always stick with Shortbow, but there are good points made for Sword, because if you've got Sword, you've got a teleport, which is far less initiative than Shortbow 5, and you've got decent damage as well as utility on that set as well. But I'm going to let you guys decide that. The most important part is Scepter Dagger. 100% want to go with Scepter Dagger. Alright, now into the sigils, as I was saying. So Celerity is definitely a must. You gain quickness for 5 seconds after disabling a foe. Now, disabling a foe includes dazing them. Any sort of CC will count towards disabling. So if I hit my F1 right now, you're going to see I will get 5 seconds of quickness. And disabling does not mean interrupting, so you don't have to interrupt the skill. You just have to CC them in any way, and you're going to get that 5-second quickness. And the quickness comes in very handy for the burst of this build, which we'll get into shortly, but that is the reason you run that. Utility skills. So we've got Hide in Shadows here. So this is a heal that will heal you for 6 seconds because of the way we're traded in Shadow Arts. So you will get 6 seconds stealth out of that. And then we run Well of Bounty. This well is optional. You can swap this out for a few different options here. So you could run like Smokescreen if you wanted more stealth. Also Shadow Refuge. You could run Roll for Initiative and even Signet of Agility. There are plenty of different options. I actually really like this, not only for the boons, but because it's a 20-second cooldown, and the way we're traded means Alacrity. We will get like 4 seconds of Alacrity after we use a well. So really the cooldown is only like, 16 seconds. And it's a port as well as like very good boon access. And because the wells look very similar, a lot of the times you can actually just port onto someone with this and you're going to bait a dodge because they see this big, like for them it'll be a red circle and they're going to want to get out of this, but it actually doesn't do damage. So if I do this, for example, someone is going to dodge. They will 100% dodge because they're thinking I'm using my elite. So I really like this. It's like I said, 16-second cooldown with the alacrity. Comes in very handy. Then we run Blinding Powder. This is your one of your stun breaks. Puts you in stealth. And you know, you can open it up from stealth with your sneak attack. Like so. And then we've got Shadow Step, which everyone knows what Shadow Step does, I imagine, if you've been playing Thief. But stun break here, and then a stun break on the return with 3 Condi Cleanse. And then last but not least, we have the elite skill. So this elite skill is actually really cool. It's like a teleport version of the Chrono Grav well. So if I port in here, look at these guys all getting pulled in. It's very, very handy, especially if someone doesn't have a stun break. Usually when you land that, you can then go into your Shroud mode and combo it. Alright, so let's talk about how to actually play the build. Honestly, how to play the build is very, very simple. You just have to land your F1, get the quickness, and then pretty much your biggest damage is going to come from your Scepter 3. What I usually like to do is, because good players are going to immediately start dodging Scepter 3 when they see it. So usually I'll open up with my F1, hit 2, and just before the 2 lands, I will use my sneak attack. So just to repeat that, because you know, I know it moves really fast. What you do is when you're in stealth, you cast your 2 and then immediately hit 1 before the 2 lands. So you can pretty much land both skills in 1 before you get revealed. And then usually that's enough to bait a few dodges. So then pretty much, you know, you go straight into the Scepter 3s and they hit like a truck when they crit. That is really the main damage right there. Obviously you've got your Shroud mode, and learning how to use Shroud mode is going to become really handy. So what I like to do with Shroud is when I'm low on initiative, or even when I'm getting pressured up close, because obviously Scepter is more of a range skill. When an enemy's up close, I find it's best to go into Shroud. I like to combo most with my let's just call it Gravwell with Shadow Fall, because what I do is, as you can see, I'll go in, I'll press 5, immediately press 4, 3 for the fear, and then I'll land a 2. I mean, you don't have to follow that rotation exactly, but that's typically what I do. I'll usually open up the 5 because it gives stability and it charges up, and by the time the 4 and the 3 land, your 5 will go off as well, and it's just like a nice little burst. Alright, so the 4 skill in the Shadow Shroud hits very hard if you land both those. The 2 actually hits really hard as well, but it does have to charge up. So that didn't crit and it almost hit for 2k. What you will find also is that this is a blast finisher, this is a leap finisher, and this is also a blast finisher. So you've got 3 finishers within your Shadow Shroud. So if you're running, for example, as I was saying, Smoke Screen earlier as an alternative, or even if you're running Sword Pistol, what you can do is you can drop a smoke field and pretty much get 2 blast finishes and a leap finisher through it. So, you know, you're going to get a lot of stealth uptime from that if you can time it well. But yeah, guys, that's the gist of the build. Like I said, like, you run pretty glassy, but what happens is when you go into stealth, and there's a few things in Shroud as well that give you barrier. There is a lot of barrier uptime in this build. As you can see, I press F1, I've got barrier. And then, you know, it also does slow. This does a lot of chill as well, so people really, really find that annoying. Every time you go into stealth, you've got barrier. You know, the barrier uptime is nuts, so, you know, there's more barrier right there. You've got a Condi Cleanse with your Shroud too. There is a lot, guys, but look, you guys get the gist of it. Keep an eye out for a lot of Spectre content. You will see me playing this build. I love this build. Honestly, I am having a blast with it. So subscribe to the channel. Keep an eye out for future videos. You will see this build getting played, so you'll be able to watch that and get more of an understanding of how it's played in actual matchups. But that's about all I can give you here today. If you mess around with this build, you're going to have a lot of fun with it. So guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time. Peace out.